I read over 400 books last year, and my second top genre was fantasy. So it is finally time to talk about my favorite fantasy books of 2025. My name is Sarah. You can find me at Sarah Sea of Pages across all platforms. I am an avid reader. I have been in my entire life, and I'm tired of looking at my bookshelf being so bare because I have my favorite fantasy reads right here, and we've got to talk about them. So I thought it'd be fun if we walk through the top ones, the ones that have stuck with me, the ones that I think about, the ones that I want to reread. You might be wondering, Sarah, this is a trilogy. Why do you not have the first one? Well, I loaned it to my brother and won't be doing that again. Gotta get that one back. But I would be remiss if I did not mention The Bloodsworn Saga by John Gwynne. If you have to add a white man to your TBR to read in 2026, he's pretty good in my book. So The Bloodsworn Saga took me by storm. Orca is my girl. She's just one of those characters I will never ever forget, but this is a Norse-inspired trilogy, and when I tell you, anytime I read about gods and their vengeance, they are just like a bunch of babies, and that's what I kept thinking this whole time I was reading this trilogy. But I will say, I really enjoyed the world building and the character growth that we had in this book. There are so many characters that I felt so connected to. One of the worst villains I have ever read is in this book. About this trilogy all the time. I think that if you were looking for an epic fantasy to take your world by storm, that John Gwynne is pretty good in my book. Now we're gonna go on a completely different side and we're gonna jump into a YA duology. I love me some YA. I know that so many adults think it's not for them because it's too juvenile or whatever the case may be. I think that for me, it heals a lot of that inner child in me, but also we have to give credit to teenagers because they are humans who will be adults and they are allowed to have epic stories. So this duology did not disappoint. I absolutely loved Blood Like Magic and Blood Like Fate. In this, we are following Voya. She essentially has to save her family's magic. And when I tell you, her family is probably one of those families that will go down in history of the most unsupportive family ever. She had a couple people on her side, but I just felt like they were not supporting her. But at the same time, like, you need to fix this and you need to make this right. So listen, I was cheering for Voya this entire time. We have some great trans representation in this duology. We have some great queer representation in this duology. Lots of different family dynamics, a little bit of a love interest. And I think it was done so well. Are we surprised? If you knew I loved that duology, you should have known that Oathbound was coming. Tracy Deonn is that girl. She knows what she is doing. She doesn't need me to say that, okay? But she knows. Oathbound came out, and when I tell you it was one of my most anticipated reads of 2025, it absolutely was. I love the Legendborn cycle. Again, if you are someone who's really worried about reading YA, but you think it might not be intricate enough, I'm telling you that the way that Tracy Deonn has built this world, it's so intricate, it's so in-depth. We're getting two different magical systems, and she does it seamlessly. Yes, in the first book, it's a little bit confusing, but then you figure it out, and it's so good. This did not disappoint. I love that it's based on a college campus, and we get to see Bree really grow as a character. Bree is one of those wonderful main female characters. She is just fantastic. She's got this best friend Alice, and I love their relationship. And I think that this book just did not disappoint. And I'm ready for the fourth installment. I'm ready for it because the way that ended, talk about a cliffhanger. The Maid and the Crocodile by Jordan Ifueko. This is such a great standalone fantasy. There is a duology by Jordan Ifueko that comes before this. And so you don't necessarily have to read it before you read this one, but there will be some characters that were a part of the first book that make an appearance in here. I would say just do with that what you will, but this is my favorite. It's so good. We are following our main FMC. She needs a job. She's an aspiring maid, and she's also a curse eater, which essentially means that she can change people's fates by cleaning their houses. And when I tell you, she runs into the crocodile, who is a god, and their relationship was absolutely hilarious to me, but also very, very sweet. I think it is just such a great standalone fantasy. I love Jordan Ifueko's writing, and I just felt swept away in this world. I definitely recommend. The Between Earth and Sky trilogy by Rebecca Roanhorse is fantastic. By the pre-Columbian Americas, it's rooted in forbidden magic, prophecies, and oh my gosh, the character work in this book. I will say the first chapter in this book absolutely blew me away, and I was hooked. I was hooked ever. Like, the moment I read that, I was like, I need more of this. and I'm so happy that I did. I'm so happy that I did. The second book is actually my favorite book in the trilogy, which I know that's kind of a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but I just really enjoyed the character work in this book. And I know second books are known for kind of dragging a little bit, that type of deal, but I think for me, like, I really needed to see our characters going what they were going through, because by the time I got to the third book, oh, it was amazing. Rebecca Roanhorse is an Indigenous author, and I think that she does such a fantastic job of building these worlds that we can't put down. And we have multiple different POV. I think that this is severely underhyped in the fantasy world and it needs to be talked about more. You know me, you know I haven't shut up about this duology all year long. And the funny part is I read it just via audio, which was great. It was a dual narration and I loved it, but then I got my hands on my trophies and now I need to dive back in. And so that is A Stranger's Never Endurance and All the Hidden Paths. This is a very heavy, politically charged duology, but it is also, it has a great, great romance plot in here as well. And it is key to this story. So essentially we have two kingdoms and they're needing to create an alliance. And how do we do that? Marriage. And so it was a little bit of a twist because one prince was supposed to marry a girl from the other kingdom, but he likes men. So that wasn't gonna work. And he really didn't want his family to know, but it kind of came out. So anyways, the two princes end up being married. And I love that. I'm all about that. I don't know what it is about me, but I love it so much. And I will say that you do have to check your triggers. I mean, with any of these books, check your triggers, but especially this first book because there is essay in this book and the author does show it. Now, in my opinion, the author does it in a very careful way and it is essential to the story. It's not just thrown in to, you know, to just be there, right? It is essential because to the person that happens to, we really get to see him work through his trauma and his pain. And while he's doing that by navigating this new marriage and people trying to unalive him, you know what I mean? So he's got a lot going on. I think it was done with such care. The way that I fell in love with these two main male characters, they are just so sweet and honest, and their relationship felt so real amongst a fantastical queer normative world. And well, I guess there's one kingdom that is queer normative, the other one not so much, but it was just done so well. And when I think about it, it brings me so much joy in here because they're trying to figure out some things that I won't tell you about. But I just think that if you need a fantastic duology that truly, honestly, I can't believe it's not talked about like just enough, this is the one. I think Invocations is a YA fantasy. Essentially, all of these women are turning up dead and we have to figure out who is unaliving them. We have a bit of feminine rage in here. I really enjoyed the character work. I enjoyed the mystery. I enjoyed figuring out why this is happening, how this is happening. It's a little bit disgusting. It is just wonderful. It's sapphic. It's all of those things. A standalone that I think everybody should read. Speaking of standalones, The Spirit Bears His Teeth by Andrew Joseph White, which he is one of my favorite authors. I'm gonna read you this first part. It says, London, 1883, the veil between the living and the dead has thinned. Violet-eyed mediums commune with spirits under the watchful eye of the Royal Speaker Society, and 16-year-old Silas Bell would rather rip out his violet eyes than become an obedient speaker wife. This touches on so many different things, but especially body autonomy and birthing children and living in a world that has expectations of you based on your gender. Wrenching and heartbreaking, and it is definitely a horror as well, so make sure, you know, that you're looking into that. But Andrew Joseph White, he does not shy away from showing the truth of these themes and these topics, and does it in a way with so much care. It's definitely one that I think about often. Another wonderful standalone was Watermoon. I know that a lot of people did not enjoy this, but to me, I felt like I was watching an anime. I thought it was so whimsical, not cozy. I do not do cozy over here. Cozy is not for me. To me, this was whimsical. We're also kind of figuring out a little bit of a mystery. I do agree that the love interest in this was a little bit too insta-love for my liking, but I think if you like insta-love, it will work for you. I just found this world to be magical. I feel like that Samantha Soto Yambao does a great job of creating these whimsical and bright and colorful worlds, and I felt like I was there. I was sold. I really enjoyed the familial aspects of this book as well, and she has become one of my favorite authors. Now, The Bone King and the Starling, you take it back a little bit, historical, fantastical world. This is so great. Elizabeth Stevens, my girl. Essentially, we have this man who worships the gods. And a part of that is that he travels from town to town and he needs a human sacrifice. And steps our female main character. And she doesn't want to be noticed. And, well, unfortunately for her, she's noticed. What are we going to do about it? And when I tell you that this romantasy, it's definitely heavier on the romance, is so fantastic. Is so fantastic. I don't know how Elizabeth Stevens wrote this. Like, it just, and it's so short. Like, it just such a short standalone. I love this world. I wish we would have more books in this world, but it is so delicious. Moonflow is an acid trip. That really is what it is. We are following Sarah, who is a trans woman, and she grows mushrooms, but her harvest is really, really bad. And so she's heard about the king's breakfast, and essentially if you take one bite, you know everything. You know everything, you can see it all. So she goes on this journey to find it so she can essentially make more money. This was crazy. I had the best time. I've never done acid, but I feel like the author depicted it in a way that I feel like I went on an acid trip. This was just, I think it took me by such surprise because I did not anticipate the journey that we would be on. Some of these characters' names in here are hilarious, and I just thoroughly enjoyed the world that we're on. The trip we were on, it was a journey. Another fantastic duology. Are you guys catching on to my theme? I love duologies. So We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars is a YA duology. It's inspired by ancient Arabia. And when I tell you, it's just one of those duologies that you jump right in and you just keep going until the very end. Some of my favorite characters are in this book. They're obviously on different missions. Some people might be trying to unalive other people, but it is just one that I can't get out of my head, and I think about these characters often. Love it so much. Of course, Catabasis was going to make this round. I mean, we have university students jumping into hell. So what do you want me to say about it? I don't think this is like too academic. I thought it was, as someone who is not an academic, I mean, so I guess take that with a grain of salt, but I thought it was very easy to understand. I love R.F. Kuang. It would be very hard for me to not like her work. I think she does a great job. I love the amount of research and time and effort she puts into her books. I think that if you're looking for a standalone historical fantasy, that this is one for the books. I would say take your time with it, enjoy it. I will say there were some parts that were a little bit slow, and so I can understand that for sure, but the way that it ended, I really enjoyed it. I thought, and being in the eyes of these university students, I thought it was great. I, of course, made this list. Again, this is another standalone fantasy, and I think this one is very interesting because there are a lot of people that will read this book and will be rooting for our main female character. I was never rooting for her. She is a white woman who has a lot of privilege, and while she is breaking into a field where women have never broken in, and I do think that is important, it doesn't negate the fact or the harm that she was also causing. Now, I don't necessarily agree with Emma Wong on the kind of romance aspect of this. It's very, very tiny, very, very small. I think that it should have stayed more in the friendship level because of the direction that it goes. But I appreciated the fact that she didn't take it all the way there, from what I remember, at least. And so it's just one of those books that I feel like it's multi-layered, and I think that it will show you a lot about yourself as a reader and as a human and the way that you interpret her work. But I thought it was fantastic, and I really, really enjoyed it. Blood and Brujas and Evanescence by Michaela D. Hornito is one of the most amazing romantasies that I have read. We are following the Brujas, and we have Inera. She's a part of the Brujas. Her mother is the Akna, so she's essentially the queen, and they are these badass women, but they've been at war with the vampires for a long time, and so she essentially just does whatever her mother says. Her mother is really evil, and her relationship with her mother was awful the entire time. Oh my gosh, the entire time. But she essentially is maybe gonna get married off to the vampire king so they can, like have an alliance type of situation. When I tell you it goes in some directions you're not anticipating, you're definitely not. I love them. I love me a badass FMC, and this does turn into a poly situation in book 2, which made me so happy. I adore these books, and I honestly just can't wait to reread them because they make me so happy. I had to include this one, even though this does come out in January. The Elsewhere Express by Samantha Soto Yambao, the author of Water Moon. This is her newest release, and again, this was fantastical. We find out about the Elsewhere Express through two characters, and essentially you can only come to the Elsewhere Express if you don't feel like there's any purpose for you to live anymore. You don't know what your purpose is, and you kind of get swept away. And again, I thought this was even better than Water Moon. This was almost perfect for me. I'm not a big mystery girl, and so the mystery in this is like very heavy. So that part I didn't absolutely love, but I just loved the character work in the world. Like, I always describe this as Alice in Wonderland because just of how incredible the world was built. It is so magical, and it's heavy on grief. This, by page 17, I was already crying, and I just love it so much. It's just one of those books that has sat with me, and I just adore it. And I think that if you haven't looked at the finished edition of this, please do, because it's absolutely stunning, and I loved it. And I'm very appreciative to the publisher for sending me this because I ate it. Void Bringer by Elaine Ho is probably one of the more surprising reads this year because I had heard about it, but I was like, oh, I'll get to it eventually. So I had a friend who sent me, they had 2 copies and they sent me one. So I was just like, okay, like, you know, let's dive in. And I'm so happy. This is so good. Let me read you this first part of this blurb. That's why waning, the Queen of Ashby has to find another way to bolster her fight against her imperialist oppressors. The solution, wrenching children of other cultures from their homes and conscribing them into service. And we get multiple POV in here, and it is done so well. My only qualm with this is that the author decided to put a little bit of like a very small romantic subplot in there, and I'm telling you, it came out of nowhere and it wasn't done very well. That's my only qualm. But otherwise, I was laughing so much in this book. It was so funny. Hammer is probably one of my favorite characters. I love her so much. She just brings me so much joy. And we, you know, there are some really cool elements of magic in here and what that looks like, and I just really loved the character work. I think that the world building could have been a little bit better, but I will be reading anything and everything that Elaine Ho puts out, and I definitely think that it's one of those books that you're gonna be mad if you don't read it, so you might as well read it. Okay, we're coming to my last two here, and I just don't know which one of these is my favorite, but I feel like that I've got to, I don't know which one's my favorite. Okay, so Red City. This is so good. This is a contemporary fantasy based in LA, and our magical system is all around alchemy. So we're following 2 alchemists. One, she lives at home with her single mother, and she wants a better life for herself. And then we have our other alchemist who opposite life of hers, and you know what, they could have had a little bit of a love situation, but they end up on different sides. And when I tell you, this just brings me so much joy. I think it deserves all of its flowers. I think it deserves more flowers, and I need book 2 immediately, because we are getting a book 2, right? Like, we better be getting one, because I need more. This is so. Missive Crown by Sarah Hashem will go down in history as one of my favorite, I don't even know if I can really call it a romantasy, but fantasy with romance. It is so good. And when I tell you that the found family in these books brings me so much joy, it is a true enemies to lovers. You do need to read the Just Said Air first. And if the Just Said Air maybe doesn't hit quite, just come here. Just come here after. Just read it and come here, because the way that she writes our characters and the plot and the world building, and it's just so fantastic. This book made me bawl several times, because again, we're getting to know these characters and everything that they're going through. And when I tell you, I was not anticipating that ending to be the way that it ended. Oh my God. The yearning. I'm telling you, I don't need all the extra. Just give me the yearning, and give me 2 people who love each other, don't want to admit it, are essentially on different kingdoms and hate each other, but want to love each other. Oh my gosh, anyways, that ending, Sarah Hashem. If you ever watch this, can you give us more in this world? I know you're not going to, and I know you're coming out with your new horror romance, and I'm so excited to read it, but like, I need more. I think about our main characters constantly. I think about them constantly. You know, and you have some side characters in here that I feel like you could write some really cool stories with. It's so good. Okay, friends. So those are my top fantasy books that I physically own, because here's the joke. I also have another list over here. I'm gonna stop here today. If you made it to the end and you wanna see part 2 of my favorite fantasy books of 2025, please let me know. But I hope you had fun watching. I had a lot of fun talking about these books and reliving them. And I hope that you found some new ones to add to your 2026 TBR.